Hello, hope you're doing fine. I have been reading the book Be As You Are by David Gottman. huh? And the page number 16 and 17, hmm, they got to my heart, and I, I went into deep silence just by reading the words. Brahman is the heart. So we will discuss this in a while. hmm? But first, let us discuss what we understood in the last video. In the last video, we talked about barriers. Huh? Now, please understand barriers that you encounter while bonding with the Guru, hmm, observing these barriers and navigating through them, barriers or contradictions. This is what sadhana is. Because even I can tell you that Brahman alone is real. संसार मिथ्या है. But then you will encounter contradictions. You will encounter barriers. The first barrier will be, who is this girl? Why should I listen to her? So the first barrier is arrogance. So imagine the people who Bhagwan must have encountered because he was just 16 years old. And a 16 years old boy, he became self-realized. Now he has nothing else to talk about, because before becoming self-realized, when you are in lower states of consciousness as compared to self-realization, in those states you can talk about everything. You can describe every worldly phenomenon. But when you are in that state, what else can you talk about? So he can only talk about silence. Now imagine such a young boy, he has the burden of explaining to everyone what silence is. And the people he must have encountered, you think all of them would be obedient by nature? No. Bhagwan might have encountered so many manipulative people who would have tried to use him, abuse him. So, such a young boy, and he has been bestowed with self-realization, that is true. He can handle everything. But the heart becomes so gentle that these kind of intentions, when you observe in people, it really pricks the heart. So imagine how many barriers universe might have arranged around Bhagwan, huh? In order for him to be safe. So the safety and protection a sage has, it's not just because he has this high spiritual ranking, but his safety and protection are coming from his way of living. So now, what does he have? He just have a kamandalu and just one cowpea, white cloth. That's it. He only has that. Now the people who are trying to acquire wealth, when they would look at the sage, they would think, oh, this sage has nothing to offer. Look at how he's living. Look at what he's eating. Huh? So the sage is now protected from people who are greedy. Because their greed will drive them away from the sage. Because the sage requires protection. Now, Bhagwan I think he did not speak for a year, right after he became self-realized and arrived at Arunachala. So he sat there, and from the top of Arunachala, he looked at the entire world. What's happening? Because prior to that, how can such a young boy understand people and their intentions? Because everyone is wearing a mask. And sages, by nature, they cannot carry a mask by nature. So whatever is there in their heart, it will be on their face. So Bhagwan might have been very honest. And later on, he himself clarified that I have only lied once or twice in my entire life. So when he was 60 years old, at that time he said this. And the one lie he said was towards his own mother, because she said something is in my ear, and Bhagwan said, yes, it's there. Come here. I'll take it out, whatever it is. So, such small two lies. So, he remained silent, and from the top of Arunachala, he observed everything. At that time, there was a fight in our country for freedom. We were fighting. So he might have observed whatever is going on. Such a young boy, he is intervening actively in everything that's going on. See? Then, so these are the kinds of barriers. Just a second. There was a hair. These are the kind of barriers you have to navigate through. Do not think that I have no idea what's going on. You have to navigate through these barriers and reach the heart of the Guru. Guru's heart is like rose flower. Huh? In order to have it, you will bleed. And this is what sadhana is. Mm. Now, now that you understand that there are barriers, mm, you should understand how rare self-realization is. Uh, there have only been 4 to 5 sages of Bhagwan's ranking. Mm. Rest of them, they are also enlightened. Most of them might be self-realized as well, but the ranking that Maharshi has, it's beyond everyone else's ranking. Mm. And thus, he has the highest authority. Mm. Now, contradictions. Huh? So, a guru who has the highest authority, who is the Lord of Spurna, huh? Such a guru made statements that were contradictory to each other. Mm. So, if you do not understand the greatness of your guru, what will happen is you will think that, oh, this sage, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Arrogance. Mhm. Arrogance is going to limit you from achieving your highest potential. Keep it away when you're walking on this path. Hmm? Because if you do not voluntarily try to overcome this tendency, this is a humanistic tendency, right? It's not your fault. We all have arrogance. Huh? It is a protective mechanism. Hmm? So, if you do not keep it aside on your own, you will be forced into keeping it aside. Huh? Bhagavan himself has said, you will be forced into submission. Hmm? And you will be made to do whatever it is you have to do. Hmm. So, the biggest contradiction you will come across, huh, is that sages, all sages say that mind is required to be annihilated by the Atman. But on the other hand, sages also say that mind is not real. Hmm? So, something that is not real, how can it be destroyed? This is the basic contradiction. Hmm? And on top of this contradiction, you can build a building on top of it. Huh? But if you can solve this one contradiction, hmm, all other contradictions, they will lose their standing. Hmm. Mind is indeed unreal, and I say that with experience. Huh? There are states where mind does not exist. Hmm? And I'm not talking about deep sleep. Because in deep sleep you have no awareness, but rather I am talking about states where you have awareness and still the mind is absent. This is the state where mind is reflecting, reflecting the self perfectly. Now the self is still. So mind also becomes still. Now in this stillness, mind loses its identity. When the ocean is still, there are no waves. Similarly, when the mind gains the power of concentration, what happens is mind reflects the source in its entirety. I think this has been termed as Brahmakarya Vritti in Vedanta. That same scholar who told me that if I were at your place, I would have become self-realized by now. He taught me this. And if I'm not wrong, I'm using it at the right place. Brahmakarya Vritti. Brahmakarya Akriti. Oh no, I'm just a fool. Whatever. So, the mind, once it gains the power of concentration, it becomes self itself. Because when there is no concentration, what's happening is you are running after sense objects. You are running after samsara. But when the mind gains this intellectual understanding that the world is absolutely an illusion, the world has no foundation to exist. So when you take away the foundation, the world disappears. So now I can see the world, but I do not receive the world. Why so? Because my mind is only receiving Brahman. This is why when you have Sphurana, you will feel it in your ears. You can hear it. So in a way, what does Sphurana do? It blocks your sense organs. So now you cannot feel your own skin. By feel, I mean to say, your mind will not go towards the skin because the mind is now feeling the bliss of Sphurana. Your ears will only hear Sphurana. The experience will become so intense that you would want to close your eyes and sit down in order to observe it. So now you are not even receiving the world from your eyes. So by this way, all your sense organs are suppressed. So you are not receiving the world. Then all the blockages in your chakra system, all the nadis, all blockages, all barriers to knowledge are temporarily dissolved. And the state of Shuddha Sattva is induced within you. So, in the presence of Shuddha Sattva, what happens is you experience bliss, bliss which is the real you. Hmm. So, excuse me. So, when you experience Purna and you experience it with bliss, it's like honey dripping from the stars. Hmm? Such is the experience. It is actually, it makes you feel as if you're on another level. That's true. Hmm. But after a while, Sphurana stabilizes. Hmm. So, in the beginning, because you have read about Sphurana, you have heard about Sphurana, your mind will hype up Sphurana. Wow, I'm having Sphurana. I'm this, I'm that. Wow, I finally experienced it. So this is what Sphurana is. Well, this is what Bhagavan has been talking about. So the mind will hype it up. Hmm? So the mind has created this state of excitement, which is now coupled with the bliss of Sphurana, and that would feel like an orgasm here, the divine bliss. But I I have never experienced it in the form of an orgasmic activity. I have always experienced it in the form of a cool breeze. Huh? So from the beginning till today, till today, I only feel it in the form of very gentle wind. And how would you feel if antiseptic lotion is applied on your skin? It's not even, it doesn't burn you, but it gives you some kind of sensation, right? So it's a cooling effect. That's the best I can describe it. Huh? Because my mind could never hype up Sphurana. I was too depressed actually. Huh? I was not in the state of excitement. The moment I felt Sphurana, my mind went into sadness and it knocked down the doors of sorrows which were trapped within my psyche. They were like, knock, knock. So now you're experiencing Sphurana, and in some time it will be taken away, it will disappear on its own. So, will you be able to survive now that you have experienced Brahman? Now that you have experienced the divine? Can you live without Sphurana now? And I lost everything in that moment when I realized I'm experiencing Sphurana. Instead of being happy, I became sad. Hmm? And because I could not enjoy Sphurana for 6 months. Huh? And during that time, I went through quite a few psychic attacks created by my own mind. They were not coming from somewhere else. Now, these attacks can come from outside as well, but those were being generated by my own mind. Hmm? Because you're going to lose it. Huh? Now that you've experienced bliss, can you go back into samsara now? Hmm? And I knew I could not go back. And so when I experienced Purna first and it disappeared for a few days, I was disheartened, completely destroyed. And I'm so happy I wasn't talking to anyone during that time. Otherwise, people would have thought, okay, this woman, she's crossed all limits of craziness. So I cried so much during that time, and I prayed so much, because what else can you do now? You cannot pursue self inquiry because you are not the doer. Huh? So, as a sadhaka, that right, your right to pursue self inquiry, huh, has been taken away. Hmm? Because the understanding that you are not the doer has been ingrained in your mind by your guru himself. Huh? It was like a stamp. No, you are not the doer. How will you pursue self inquiry? What happened was, what do I do now? I, I experienced Purna, and I cannot hold on to Purna. And now that Spurna has gone, I don't know how to bring her back. I have no clue. And the bliss I experienced, the sadness that I'm experiencing because Spurna has departed, I can't do anything about it. I just have to endure the pain of separation from the Guru. So I was depressed, heavily depressed for 6 months. But at the end of 6 months, when I regained this confidence that no, Spurana will never be taken away. Never. Rather, it will be stabilized and it will become Brahman. Huh? So Spurana is Brahman. Imagine someone stabbing you with a knife again and again in the chest. That is Spurana. But imagine someone left the knife in your chest. That is a state beyond Spurana. That is the heart. That is Brahman. So now the dagger has been placed. So that was the time when I suddenly woke up from the sleep and I started saying the words, Raman Maharishi is myself. I am one with Raman Maharishi. And I got up and I said 2-3 times these words. First time I said it because I was shocked as I came out of the dream. But then I repeated twice the same words so that I can remember it. That was on purpose. So, Sfurna to me has never come as an orgasmic experience. It has always been very gentle to me. I lost my train of thoughts. What were we talking about? Yeah, whatever. All I can remember is we were talking about contradictions. The mind. That the mind is not real. On the other hand, yeah, I can remember it now. So the mind is not real. And Upanishads and sages, they say that mind must be destroyed. So this is the first contradiction you will encounter. Well, you can encounter many contradictions, but This is the most basic one. Huh? Now, from my experiences, I'm telling you that there are states where you will lose. Hmm? You will lose the mind because mind is now reflecting Brahman. Huh? Excuse me. Now these are few states which occur just before realization. Hmm? So by that law, I should become self-realized within the next 1 or 2 years. Huh? But there are really high chances that I might take another 2 decades because I can see a lot of work that's required to be done, and a sage cannot do that work. It doesn't suit him. Like I'm talking to you about barriers. Hmm? A sage will never tell you that there are barriers. Huh? He will simply remove it. Hmm. His presence will simply remove the barrier. But still, I'm telling it to you because there are so many energetic barriers that are safeguarding hmm, this knowledge. And it's time that some of these barriers are permanently dissolved. Hmm. One such barrier is separation between or distinction between wealth, monetary wealth, and spirituality. Hmm. So, in the coming years, what's gonna happen is this distinction, the barrier, is actually going to be dissolved. Hmm. So that people can pursue sadhana hmm, in order to become abundant. Hmm. So that those are just a few future plans. And I don't make plans, I'm telling you that. I do not plan for the future. I don't even know what's gonna happen tomorrow. My heart says that something of this sort is required to be done, and I just go and do it without giving it a thought. Hmm? So it doesn't suit that a sage is talking to you about barriers and this and that. Hmm? He will simply remove those barriers. His presence will melt away those barriers. Even a man who is greedy would sit in front of a sage who owns nothing, who lives in a shabby home, shabby hut. Huh? And this greedy man will fall in love with the sage. Hmm. Why so? Because in the sage you see your own divinity. Uh, yeah. Hmm. The heart is the center of all, that from which beings come into existence is said to be Brahman in the Upanishads. That is the heart Brahman is the heart. Now, there actually is one question that I wanted to discuss with you. Where is it? Question. For the one who has realized his self, it is said that he will not have the three states of wakefulness, dream, and deep sleep. Is that a fact? Now, answer is being given by Bhagwan. What makes you say that they do not have the three states? What makes you say that a self-realized being do not have the three states? In saying, I had a dream, I was in deep sleep, I am awake, you must admit that you were there in all the three states. So again we are talking about the three states. Because in the last video as well we briefly talked about it. So let us complete this discussion. In saying, I had a dream, I was in deep sleep, and I'm awake, you must admit that you were there in all the three states. You were the one who was in deep sleep. You were the one who was dreaming, and you are the one who is awake. So you must admit your own existence in all the three states. You do not say that while I was in deep sleep, I wasn't existing. I was not into existence. Just because I could not receive the world in deep sleep, that does not mean that I did not exist during deep sleep. But how do you know? Because you know that something was existing. Even when the world was absent, you were there. You were existing. You might not be aware of your body. There might be no mind. Because if there was mind, it would become dreaming state. There was no mind. And yet you existed. That makes it clear that you were there all the time. If you remain as you are now, you are in the wakeful state. This becomes hidden in the dream state. In the dream state, your wakefulness becomes hidden. And the dream state disappears when you are in deep sleep. You were there then, you are there now, and you are there at all times. You are there in all these three states. The three states come and go. Right? You will dream and then you'll drift into deep sleep, then you'll come out of sleeping, you'll get up, you'll be awake. The three states come and go, but you are always there. It is like a cinema. So you are there, and these three states are coming and going. So you are like the cinema, you are like the curtain, the screen on which the cinema is being projected. So now you are the screen, and when you become self-realized, what happens is you know that you are the screen, and now you can see dreaming, waking, and deep sleep. All these states come and go repeatedly. The screen is always there, but several types of pictures appear on the screen and then disappear. Nothing sticks to the screen. It remains a screen. Similarly, you remain your own self in all the three states. Do you get it? So the answer, I think it's quite long. Yeah. Please read it on your own if you can. Huh? So we are experiencing these three states on a daily basis. But if we are drifting from one state to the other, from the other state to the another, there must be a way for us to drift into Brahman. There must be a way. Don't you think? There has to be a pathway. Now I'm talking from the perspective of a sadhak. Bhagwan's perspective is the highest standpoint. So he is telling you that these three states will come and go. You are the screen. Now, you may think that Bhagwan is talking about being a witness. But I think in the very next question, you will find out that he is talking about being a witness, but not just that. Being a witness is just a small part of it. What are you witnessing? What are you witnessing? If you are witnessing something, that means there is the presence of two. There is the presence of drishta and drishya. The seer and the seen. But when there are two, how can you have found Brahman when there are two? Because Brahman is just one. So the presence of two, the presence of Triputi. So if there are two, the seer and the seen, there is also the process of seeing. So that means there is Triputi. So if you are witnessing something, that is not the final state. And this is where most people make a mistake. Because I also witness. I witness the seer and the seen. I being the seer, I witness the seen. But consciousness, Brahman, is the state where both seer and seen disappear. So consciousness is looking at the seer and then absorbing it. So Bhagwan's standpoint is that you are the screen, and on that screen these three states are being projected. They are coming and going. But I am talking about the perspective of a sadhaka. If we can drift into one state from another, that means there is a way for us to drift into Brahman. Huh? There has to be a pathway. Hmm. What I used to do was that every time I'm having a thought, I would just go and stand behind it. There is the thought playing on the mind, and I, being the awareness, I, being the attention, would just go and stand behind the thought. So I would become the screen. Huh? I used to do this as a child. I used to play with my mind. Hmm. So if this suits you, try doing it. Huh? There are thoughts. Hmm? Just go and try to become the background of that thought. Hmm? And you will find the screen. Hmm? Now hold on to that screen as much as possible. Huh? When you hold on to that screen, the thoughts will disappear. Hmm. It's like, I think Bhagwan only gave this example. When you're reading a newspaper, you are looking at the words that are printed. Huh? You never look at the paper. Your focus doesn't go towards the paper. You are only attending the words that are printed on the paper. But if you start to attend to the paper, you won't be able to read the words. You will be focused on the paper itself. So try doing it. You will become the screen, the background. And if you practice this, if you become the background, you will very easily separate your mind from the screen. And then if you can try holding on to the screen, it will drive you towards silence. Because the screen is neutral. The pictures are violent. In the waking state, something is happening and it hurt you. You had a dream and it annoyed you. It was a nightmare. You became afraid of darkness. All this is happening on the screen. But when you become the screen, nothing can penetrate. So maybe try this if you want to. Then, is there anything else left? No. So I'm going now, and if you have any experiences and you want to share your experience, and if you are caught up in a contradiction or there are barriers, because these barriers are such that if you have greed in your heart, the barrier will stop you by your collar. It will see that there is greed and that greed will be targeted. Now, until unless you overcome the greed, you won't be able to come close to the Guru, to your own heart. Then if there is a barrier of lust, so now you're thinking, why should I pay attention to this Guru? when I can go towards shiny objects in samsara, what will happen is you will be caught by the collar, overcome this lust towards sense objects. Only then you can attain knowledge. So if you encounter barriers and you're having problem in overcoming them, let me know. If there are contradictions and you're not able to navigate through them, let me know. I'll mention the mail ID in the description box. Alright, I'm going now. Take care.